Hi everyone, it's Paige. Welcome back to my channel. It is a beautiful summer's day. So you know what? I think it's time for like a mid-year freak out tag because I didn't get to do this last year. So I think this year is the perfect opportunity to redeem myself. I will link the original video down below, and if you do not know what this tag is, basically it's what it sounds like. I'm gonna tell you about the books that I've read so far in the year. I'm gonna talk about my favorites, my least favorites, new favorite characters, etc, etc. And we're just gonna check in and see how the year has been reading wise. As a heads up, this year my reading goal is 50 books and I have literally reached the middle of that, so I'm at 24 books, 25 because I'm literally almost done with one today, but yeah, I'm literally I'm straight in the middle of my reading challenge. Like, I am right on track. I would define this reading year so far as a lot of book talk reading. You will see a trend in these books because most of the books that Book Talk recommends are romance, or at least have a focal romance. But without further ado, let's get started. So we're starting off pretty hard. The first question in this tag is the best book you've read so far in 2021. It's a little bit hard. Which I guess it's supposed to be, but I chose The City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. I read this a few months ago because of Rocket Reads, who sent me the first two books. I just really loved it. I loved the world building, I loved the characters, I loved the plot and the adventure and the intrigue, and so I guess I had to go with this one. But I mean, you know, if I loved the whole series, then I guess like so far the whole series is my favorite book of 2021 so far. If you're wondering what the heck this is, it's an adult fantasy trilogy, Middle Eastern inspired. It starts in Egypt and then goes a little bit more east. Alright, so next question is best sequel you've read so far in 2021. And obviously, since that was a trilogy, those sequels are some of my favorites, but I figured I'd go outside of that trilogy and try to give you another example of a great sequel. And I was also fortunate enough to read the Shadow of the Fox trilogy by Kagawa. So I'm gonna say that my favorite sequel of the year so far has been Soul of the Sword, which is the second book in that trilogy. This is a young adult fantasy inspired by Japanese mythology. Super fun. If you love anime, I would highly recommend this. It's really well written, really well plotted. The characters are interesting. There's just like a lot of Japanese mythology, which is really cool, and I guess also sort of like educational, but in a fun way. And departing from books I've actually successfully read, let's talk about a new release that I haven't read yet but would like to. So off the bat, this is it. I really want to read The Nichan Smile by C.J. Merwild really badly. Yeah, I talked about this in my 7 most anticipated releases like a few months ago. I made a video. It came out, I believe, at the beginning of this month, but I have not had the means to go book shopping, and I have not had a ton of time to read, and I am absolutely certain that this is the kind of book that I need to devote time to. So I don't want to rush read it or take forever to read it because I don't have enough time. Like, this book needs respect, which is what I want to give it. So hopefully I can read that soon. Hopefully I can pick it up and read it soon. And buy it and have it because it's so pretty too. In league with that question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and this was another book that was in that 7 most anticipated. If you want to see that video, go ahead and click up here. But I also really want to read Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This is supposed to come out in September, and I talked about this a little bit more in depth in that video, but this book is supposed to be, I guess, a little bit more contemporary fantasy, obviously vampire related, so it's gonna be fun to see J. Kristoff, who is one of my favorite authors, revive that feeling of like the contemporary modern vampire. On a bit of a downward note, the next question is my biggest disappointment of the year so far. And I feel guilty saying this, so don't come after me, because obviously this series has a huge fan base, and even this newer book has a huge fan base, and that's fine. You know, I read the whole thing, I enjoyed it to some extent, but it was my biggest disappointment, and that was A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. Yeah, I am a huge fan of the ACOTAR series and Sarah J. Maas in general. Look at this shelf over here. Absolutely love her. I have coloring books and maps. ACOTAR is the reason that I got back into reading. I was in a real slump for what feels like several years, and then ACOTAR came and snapped me right out of it. But I read this book and I was like, what great spice, of course. But overall, it just felt super rushed. Some of the most beloved characters in the series felt like they were just pooped on. I don't know. I would have rather have not seen some of the older characters in this book than have them done dirty like they were done dirty. There were just several things in this book that like really bothered me, like a lot, to the point that me and my friends are still like hashing out how confused and like disappointed some parts of this book made us. And please keep in mind that when I say it's my biggest disappointment, that's because I had the highest expectations for it. So that doesn't mean it was like the worst book that I've read this year. It just means that like with how disappointed I was with this installment, like that's worse for me because of how much I love the series. You know what I mean? Okay, moving on. Happier things. Like I said at the beginning, Book Talk has introduced me to a lot of new romance avenues this year. I don't know if you've seen the new trend, Ice Planet Barbarians or whatever. I haven't gotten into it, but they are really big on romance. So I've been down some rabbit holes. But most recently, Book Talk recommended to me a series called The Raven Hood by Kate Stewart. And I'm not sure what the selling point was. I probably saw like a Book Talk person just talk about how much they loved it, which is really the only thing I need. As soon as somebody like really hypes a book, I'm pretty much sold. Like, you can be really anybody, and as long as you like really go into depth about how much you love something, I'll try it. So I went ahead and read Flock and Exodus, which are the first two books in the series, and was totally blown away. I feel like it's really, really good. If I had to recommend to somebody like a really, really good contemporary romance with like actual plot, I would go for this book. Kate Stewart is a really good writer. She has like that really fluid sort of writing. It's really nice and smooth, and you get into it really quickly. The characters are like actually interesting. Like, I feel like they have very distinct personalities. I could pick them out easily, and it's spicy. Like, it's actually spicy and it's good. I don't know, I feel like you sometimes can't have both. I feel like you can't have spice and good plot writing. I feel like it's one or the other most of the time, and I feel like this book has all of it. So this was a really huge surprise for me because for the most part, Book Talk has recommended books that are one or the other. They haven't really given me a lot of both. Okay, so the next prompt is a favorite new author that I have. I guess you could almost say that Kate Stewart is one of my new favorites, but I will also include Susanna Clarke here because I read Piranesi this year, and I really, really enjoyed it. This is a very short novel. I don't know how to describe it. If you read the book, then you know exactly why. I just can't describe it. But I did read her for the first time this year, and I enjoyed this book. I feel like she has a very creative brain. And so far, she is the first new author that I've read this year that I've actually researched more to see if I want to read more of her books, and I do. So I think she has like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of inspired book. Don't quote me on that because I'm not exactly sure. But I am interested in reading it now that I've kind of tasted a little bit of her writing. I think she's a great standalone author that I would like to have more of. Next up is a one that's calling me out, and this is newest fictional crush. So this year I did read From Blood and Ash for the first time, read the whole trilogy, thanks Book Talk, and like what am I gonna say? Of course it's Hawke. It's gotta be Hawke. Why? Dark-haired, golden-eyed. He could charm your face right off. He's so awesome, and he's witty, and he's funny, and he's also just irresistible. I think also the reason I like him so much is because he reminds me of Rhysand in that he is very much like a feminist. He's very supportive of the main character. He could definitely hold his own, but he doesn't care about that. He just cares about supporting her. And that's what I love most about a male love interest. The next question is actually my newest favorite character, and I almost included this character as my newest fictional crush, but I felt like he was a little bit different from my favorite crush. So I chose Prince Ali, or Ali Zaid, from this City of Brass trilogy. He is one of the main perspectives of the book, so he has a perspective from the first book on. I think I like him because I really like heroes, and Ali is nothing if not a hero. He is so dutiful and compassionate and empathetic, and he's such a good boy. But whereas he is like a good soldier, like he definitely is that sort of trope of like he's the second born son, he is like going to be the commander of an army, like he has those military leader skills. He's also extremely book smart, which is something I really appreciate. I don't see a lot of those male characters. He just has a lot of layers to him. He's like an onion, you know what I mean? I feel like he deserved a lot more. He deserved the world. He's like a cinnamon bun that didn't get like his icing, I feel like. But he definitely was one of my favorites in the book. Speaking of the City of Brass trilogy, the next question is books that made you cry. This baby right here, the last book in the trilogy, made me so sad, so utterly destroyed. I thought I was fine, and then I wasn't. It was like night and day. Oh, it still like makes me sad actually, so I'm gonna put this away. However, the pain didn't stop there, because this also made me cry. This is the last book in the Shadow of the Fox trilogy, and again, crept up on me. I thought, you know what, I love these characters, but I'm not that invested. And then it just destroyed me. Just destroyed me. So, and you know what is funny about the fact that both of these trilogies made me cry is the fact that Rocket sent me both. So Rocket likes to cause me pain. Rocket likes to make me cry, because these are the only two books so far this year that have made me really... But this one wasn't as bad, I feel like. This one wasn't as bad, weirdly. But at least there were some books that made me happy. The book that I'm reading right now, or trying to read, which is the last book in that Ravenhood series, it's called The Finish Line, is making me pretty happy. The series is very much like a roller coaster. It gets you up and down real hard. Like the downs are real far down for me. But in this last book, we're getting a new perspective, which I felt like I really needed. We're getting all those like loose ends tied up, and I'm really enjoying it. It's very like fun-filled sort of book so far. It's very domestic and just cute and nice and fluffy and steamy, and it's very nice. So it's making me happy right now, which is, I feel like, something I need because I am sort of in like a little bit of a book slump, so it's helping me sort of recover, and it's putting me in a good mood. So moving right along, another thing that makes me happy are pretty books. So the next prompt is the most beautiful book you've bought so far or received. I'm going to show you two because they are really pretty. And I just recently sort of hauled this book, actually it was a couple months ago, but it's The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. So pretty, look at it. Honestly, what immediately drew me in about the book is the cover, and then I read into it. It's textured, and it was in Reese's YA book club. So also this year I hauled Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. Again, what a stunning cover. I love the matte finish of it and like the textured kind of prominence of the letters and the art style. So pretty. I've been meaning to read this for so long and I haven't still. But I have every intention to. This is a young adult fantasy. I'm sure it's wonderful and I'm sure it's great and it's beautiful anyway, so why not have it on my shelves? Okay, next to the last question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? If you follow me on Goodreads, you probably see my status updates and what I'm reading and all that good stuff. I try to update as accurately as I can. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I have been trying to finish A Promised Land by Barack Obama. I've been listening to it on audiobook. It is a very long book, but I do like the fact that it's narrated by Obama. So it's, you know, that's cool. It feels very authentic, like he's telling his story. But it is taking me forever to finish. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year I will have finished it. Right now I'm about halfway through, which seems great, but that means I still have 14 hours left. Like in total, the audiobook is 29 hours. 29. I also very much want to finish The Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart by the end of the year. This seems a bit random probably because I haven't talked about it a lot, but I hauled this around Christmas time and have been wanting to read it since then. I've seen really stunning reviews of this and I'm really curious about it, to be honest. And finally, we are at the last question, which is favorite book to movie adaptation you've seen all year. I feel like I have got it easy because this year was like the launch of one of the biggest book to movie adaptations thus far. That's Shadow and Bone. Not technically a movie, it's a TV series. I did finish the first season of Shadow and Bone on Netflix, and I felt like they did the books absolute justice. Couldn't want better for the casting, especially the Six of Crows. And I thought that I'd just throw in here, because why not? We did also binge the entirety of Invincible, the animated show on, I believe, Amazon Prime, which is based off of the comic books Invincible. I loved it. It's one of my favorites. It's just one of my favorites. I don't know if it's of the year, of all time. I absolutely loved it, enjoyed it. But to be fair, and I'll put this out here, I have not actually read the Invincible comics. And I have been told, I do know this, I have been told that the show, as much as it is gory, is nothing compared to the comics. So if that's something that bothers you, maybe you won't like the show. That is the end of the tag. My voice is a little bit rough now. How are you guys doing as far as reading goes? What's your favorite book so far of the year? If you haven't done this tag because you're not a booktuber, do it anyway. Literally copy the questions, put them in the comments, and answer them for me. I'm actually really curious. If you like this video, by the way, please like, comment, and subscribe. And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads. I'm gonna wrap it up here, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye!